Welcome back, everybody, and welcome if this is your first time to the Optimize You podcast. Today, we have an awesome episode set up for you. Somebody who's special to me. I really, really enjoy talking to this person. I've had the opportunity to coach him as well. So Alex and I are juiced to have my man Casey on the podcast. Casey, what is going on, man? How are you doing, brother?
Feeling good. Holidays are still in full swing, and I just got back from Texas. That's where I'm from. I live here in San Francisco, so yeah, I was kind of eager to get back to the city because it was just nonstop eating, all the good stuff that I usually don't eat anymore. So, but we're good. Got back to work yesterday, and yeah, so it's been good.
Some Whataburger, right?
For sure, yes.
I saw that. Yes,
Yeah, the
sir.
watermelon, tamales, and all that nasty stuff. But
Yep.
hey, it's all good.
Dude, that was me. I gained 5 pounds. So I always try to weigh myself in the morning and then weigh myself at the end of the night on a holiday.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a little bit more conservative. Thanksgiving, I'm usually like 7 to 9. I only did 5 pounds on Christmas. So I was kind of proud of myself on that one. Maybe not proud, maybe a little bit discouraged. I kind of expected a little more out of myself. Thought I was going to get like the 7 to 9 range, but that was good, man. And sounds like you had a good time too. But now you're back. You're back in San Francisco, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, man. I want to kind of dive in, and Alex will have some questions for you here too. But before we kind of get into our questions that we have for you, give everybody kind of a little bit of a background. Where'd you?
Yeah.
Obviously, you told us where you came from,
Yeah.
but just give us a little bit more detail so people know where you come from. And before you dive into that, the reason we have Casey on is because his story is amazing, but his ability to inspire others. Again, I had him as a client before. And so we want to just dive into that because we know that a lot of you that are listening to this, or you guys are hearing this for the first time, have been in Casey's shoes or somewhere similar, right? And meaning maybe not quite his shoes based on what you hear in his story, but just know that he has his own story and his ability to inspire others. That's why we wanted to have him on the show. And so we're excited to kind of dive into your story, man. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. Thanks again, Matt, for having me on here first, and Alex too. Yeah. So my journey began, like my fitness journey began about 3 or 4 years ago. I reached out to Matt to kind of help me. I was kind of stuck, but before that, I lost two very important people in my life. Unfortunately, it kind of like jump started my fitness and my health journey. My best friend passed away in his sleep due to a heart attack, and then 8 months later, my cousin passed away of a stroke, all before their 38th birthday. So, and I was right there, right behind them. I was about 38, 39, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, excessive drinking, just eating whatever I wanted without any consequences to it. And then fast forward, moved to San Francisco, and it kind of just went off in my head like, we need to do something now. I was 240, pushing 245. The lowest I got was to 158. And Matt was involved with that too. Fast forward now, I'm almost 195. So I've been doing the weights, a lot of compound lifting. And then before all that, I did have cancer as well. I battled with that 2, 3 years ago, and still feeling the effects of the chemotherapy even now. As far as my hands are always cold, my feet are always cold, and my appetite fluctuated so much. This didn't taste good. I didn't like that. It was just going back and forth, and then having unfortunately had a mental health scare, and Matt was there. I reached out to him, and stopped drinking. So it's been over 2 years I stopped drinking because that was pushing me towards the edge. So just there was a lot going on. And so once I stopped drinking, my mind just switched to where it's just a go, 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 go. And I'm thinking about it right now as to what I've been through the last 2, 3 years, and my life has just gotten better overall. When I mean better, it's just like I don't have any body aches anymore. My mind is clearer. I eat better. I don't eat out anymore. I don't, like I said, I don't drink anymore. So with all these obstacles, all these hurdles that I've been through, you know, I just can't believe I've done all this. Um, Coming from South Texas, from a very small town, you know, if hurdles came your way, you just accepted it. That's just part of who you were. And I just refused to believe that. I was like, I can do better than this. I'm better than this. Um, and I wanted to not be on medication. I didn't want to, see my friends' parents, getting their limbs amputated because of diabetes. Like I didn't want to go through that. I'm 45, be 46 next month, and I'm in the best shape of my life now than I was 2, 3 years ago.
That's amazing. That's amazing, dude. First off, really appreciate you coming on, Casey. Great to meet you. And congrats on all of the amazing success that you've had. I mean, the sobriety, the success, losing weight, and from what Matt's told me, now kind of shifting the focus a little bit more to more gaining muscle, building muscle.
Yeah.
All of it is amazing. Beating cancer, overcoming, I'm sure, other obstacles throughout the way. And I'd love for you to kind of share just within that. I mean, you shared a ton of different things, right? A ton of different obstacles. What was kind of the big turning point for you? Like within that story for you, like what was the snap of like, oh shit, like I need to do something now, or maybe like we don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, that I actually was November 19th, 2021. That's when I blacked out drunk. And I had said some things, I'd done some things that I just wasn't proud of. I'm like, we've got to change. We have to change. We have to do something. I started my journey already, but I needed something more. And unfortunately, I went to this dark phase of my life, and that I snapped out. I was like, we have to do something now about this. I sought mental health help, psychiatrists, all that stuff. And because I just wasn't in the right mind. I just wasn't. And it wasn't healthy for myself, people around me, my family, my friends. And unfortunately, because I had to go down that dark path to snap out of it. And I did. And that's where I am now. I'm focused more on adding muscle. I am more disciplined now than I was 2 years ago. And along the way, I post all my stuff on Instagram and on Facebook, and I see people like, wow, Casey, congratulations. I'll get messages like, what are you doing? How can I do this? You're inspiring, you're motivating me. And it's kind of overwhelming at times because I know it worked for me and I do want to help people. But it means a lot. I guess if you get in my mindset, it just wasn't something that I am used to. I looked up to people, and now people looking up to me for this. And I'm very shy, I'm very timid, and like to keep to myself a lot. So just to have all this it's been great, but overwhelming because I'm not sure where to begin with all this. But yeah, I think just motivating people, yeah, it's just been I guess the byproduct of all of this. So, but yeah, that was the point. That was the moment that really just, if you don't do something now, bud, you're gonna, something's bad gonna happen.
That's so cool, man. And just to hear your experience and the journey that you go through, the steps that you take, where you were to where you're at now. You mentioned something in there too that I'm curious about. You mentioned that you saw other people, whether it was people closest to you, best friends, family members, struggling in their own personal journey. How did your environment or the people around you play a factor into you going, okay, I need to pursue this as my journey. I need to make change. How did the environment or people around you impact you from that perspective?
Yeah, I was scared. I knew I was afraid of if I'm going down the right path, what you're asking, and I was going at it alone. I didn't really have a lot of support, only because I guess my social circle was always involved with going out, and I was afraid of losing that. And I luckily had you, Matt. You were there. I knew I reached out to you many times as far as like, I'm losing these people. And after a few months, after about even now 2 years later, I'm like, it's whatever now. I don't care. I'm doing it for myself. So, and it's brought in new people into my life that I never thought I would be associated with, just like lifters at the gym, and, you know, talking about weightlifting, talking about health. And it's just been like, who is this person? Like, who, this is not Casey. This is not what I did. You know, I was always worried about like, hey, where are we going now? What are we doing after work? So it's been surreal for me, I guess you can say. So yes, I lost some people. I love them. I do talk to them, but that's not my life anymore. This has been my new life now. So yeah, it's a new avenue of new people coming in and like sharing new thoughts and ideas. Like, what else can I do? Being frustrated with like not making any progress, which I have been the last few months. So, but yeah, it's like I said, I'm still going through the change. I'm still, meeting new people, and the old people that were there are slowly coming back. And it's just like, those are the ones that are like, hey, can you help me?
Right.
So
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I relate honestly so heavily with at least part of your story, where I'm sober myself, been sober for 2.5 years. There was like a moment in my life too, where it was like I had a blackout on a Sunday night when I had work the next morning. And that was like a huge just flip switch for me too, where I was like, okay, this is going down a path that I really do not want to go down. And I reached out to a therapist as well. And that's kind of started my journey of getting sober and really changing my life for the better as well. And it was really difficult, like with the people, right? Like you have all these people in your life that you kind of associate with drinking. It's all drinking, all that different stuff. And so I think that's just amazing that you've been able to get past that. And now you're into a completely different lifestyle. It sounds completely different, like friends, and now even able to help some of your friends that you previously maybe spent a lot of nights out with drinking, all of that stuff. So I think that's awesome. And on a little different note, you said you reached out to Matt, and, that turning point for you really was that one night, November 19th, that changed your life. And you had the first steps of reaching out to a therapist or a psychiatrist. What are some of like the first steps that you took past that, kind of on the more physical health side of things? Obviously the mental health side of things, it sounds like you kind of started getting in the right direction. What were some of those more physical steps that you started taking to change from being, 245, 250, I think you said you were, and start to make that progress in the right direction with your health and with your weight?
That, very good question. For the most part, San Francisco was shut down during the pandemic. So the only thing I could do was just walk. And San Francisco has these gnarly ass hills. So I started climbing. Well, actually, climbing basically what it was. I started walking up these hills, not knowing I didn't really have a plan. That was my plan, was just to walk. So if you're familiar with the city, I lived in Soma, and I walked up to Nob Hill. It's about a 2-mile walk. Now on the map, it looks like straight shot, which it is. It's all uphill. And you get to the point of this church called Grace Cathedral. And that was my goal every day, was just to get to that church. It was painful, heavy set guy walking up these stairs, sometimes wearing a mask because, I didn't want to be next to anybody. And that pretty much jump-started what I wanted to do. I just remember laying in bed and like, start now. And it's cold here in the summers in San Francisco, and I hate cold, but I did it. I got up, I put on a sweatshirt, some sweatpants, and started walking. And I remember getting home the next day, just being sore, because obviously these hills, it's working your thighs, your legs. And that was the most sore I had ever felt in my entire life. And there were days where like, I don't want to do this. I just don't want to. It hurts. But I just kept doing it. Because like, there's no other. If I don't do this now, I'm never going to do this again. I'm never going to start, and that was my starting point right then. And it worked, and the weight started dropping. I changed my diet. When I mean change diet, I just started cooking more at home and not eating out as much as I used to. Um, and it was just as a burning, it was like a burning in my head, just keep doing it. As much as you hate it, because I wasn't enjoying it, it hurt. Um, and after a few months, the weight started dropping. I like bought me a scale and I was down, like losing maybe a pound, 2 pounds a week. And I just remember that moment when I got down to 199. That was like I was like, wow, this actually works. What I'm doing is working. Um, and I was just over the moon. I just could not believe it that I had done that. Like I did that. Nobody else did it for me. Um, and just seeing that hard work really does pay off. Making those changes, like giving up going out was just something I never thought I would do. um, and just be able to do that was just like I don't even care to go out now. Now that everything's open, I stay home. I don't go out. Um, it's Coke Zero and popcorn on my days off, and that's it. So yeah,
It's awesome, dude. And you have posted a lot of pictures too, like of what. And the biggest thing that I've noticed too, just within the last transition, let's call it 1.5, even the last 2 years, you can see the progression in your journey. Just literally, if you follow you on social media, right, you can see the types of foods that you're eating now versus when you first came to me, and the quality of foods that you were eating is just totally different, right? It's night and day. Like you said, you're spending more time at home. You're cooking more home cooked meals. You're very conscious of your protein targets, caloric intake, etc. And so we initially went through a fat loss phase, right? We're trying to rip fat off your body as best as we possibly can. I remember setting target goals for you for steps, right? Steps was something that you were doing consistently. I set some goals for you that stretched you a little bit. And I remember vividly you going to the gym. This is where you just started going into like 24 too. And you were walking to the gym and you would message me and you're like, dude, I'm already at like 10,000 steps. And this was like, early in the morning, right? Because you would walk to the gym, you'd work out, you'd walk home, you'd go get coffee. Like you're very conscious of being on your feet and that energy expenditure. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people overlook, especially when they go into their health and fitness journey, is that they have to do like these drastic things. We're going to see it come up right here during this time in January 1st, right? In the New Year's, like people are going to try to do these drastic things. And the plan that you've just laid out and things that you've admitted that you've done in the past where, hey man, it was uncomfortable. It hurt. You being 240, 245 plus, like, yeah, it's not going to be easy at first, but it's highly effective. And it's one of those things that if you were to just transition and go into, let's just say you went into running, right? Like, let's say you started with running, which a lot of people do. They're like, okay, I need to start running. It's like, well, you don't even know how many steps you accumulate in a day just walking first, right? And so I think it's one of those barriers where if people can knock that down and just go, okay, what's the thing that I can do consistently on a daily basis? And just like your example, you're like, man, I noticed in a month and a half, like the weight was just coming off. And it wasn't that you were doing something like you weren't doing hill sprints, right? You weren't wearing like a weighted vest and going on trail runs. And I think that's what people have in their this misconception in their hand. Specifically, if you were any sort of previous athlete, I'm talking to my like guys, especially, right? Very ego driven. Man, I used to work out 5-6 times a week. And I'll ask these guys like, yeah, how many times are you working out now? And when's the last time you worked out? So people want to hit that New Year's and they want to go from 0 to 100. You went in this very gradual progression. I think that's a huge key of what allowed you to keep continuing to kind of lay each brick every single day. And you set these little targets for yourself. You're like, my goal was just to get to the church, right? I want to make it to the church every day on my walk. And I think those are things where you can, if you want to call it low hanging fruit, but those are the things that keep people going, man. Is there anything else that you can think of where there was little things where you're like, if I can just do this, and then I was able to build off of it? Like if you were to explain to somebody who's was in your shoes or currently is in your shoes where you were previously, and they're like, I know I got to do something. What are some of the first things that came to mind that worked for you? We talked about steps, but is there anything else that you're like, yes, that's the thing that worked really well for me, that kind of created momentum and I knew I could build off of it? Is there anything that comes to mind?
that's a very good question. I just know I just kept going.
Yeah.
I kept going because once I saw the results, and I said, oh my God, this works. It was just more like, what more can I do? What else can I do? And I think that's when you came into the picture and I reached out to you one night. I was like, I need help. What, because I was pretty much winging it the entire time I started it. And that's when I was like, I need someone to guide me, to just help. I needed it. So, and I've been in the last 2 years, I've had either you, uh, I work at a gym now, so I have access to a lot of trainers now. So that's
Nice.
the best thing about, I've kind of pivoted my career, but that's a different story now.
Awesome.
So just having that now, I'm lucky and I'm blessed to have that. But I'm going down a rabbit hole now. Sorry. But it's just been just like having you, Matt, was just like, and there was no pressure from you. It was just like, hey, I'm here, and and we talked, and that helped me a lot. But just I just kept going. That's all I can say is I kept going because I wanted more. Like what else can my body do? What else? How far can I push my body? And that's where I wanted to go, and that's what I'm still doing now. Um, you know, like even though I weigh more, I still wear the same clothes. I mean, they're a little bit tighter, but it's just remember that I remember I was going from like XL to large to medium to small.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that was the most frustrating part was with losing, the body fat was just like I had to get a new wardrobe. Now it's just I still have the same clothes now, like it's medium and small, but the smallest fit tighter. But anyways, the mediums fit okay. But no, I just remember I had to keep going. I had to keep going, you know, and I'm proud of myself for doing that. And to hear my mom, my sister say that, like, we're proud of you for doing that. So um, that's just been the icing on the cake, just to get that validation. Not that I needed it, but just it's been awesome.
That's huge. And that always makes it easier to keep going, right? Like when you get that too, and when people notice. But, and also I just wanted to say, like, the fact that you mentioned just walking was the start, right? It was just, I walked. And like Matt said, a lot of people think that they have to change everything. He said, I started walking and I had a goal. And then eventually, with the diet, you're like, I didn't do anything crazy. I just started cooking from home, right? I just started cooking my own stuff. And it's a lot easier to kind of know how much you're eating when that's the case, right? You can manipulate it a little bit easier on the protein side, on the calorie side, on the quality of food. And so I think that it's just those two things alone are just amazing things that I think anybody listening to this podcast can start doing. And it would be a great New Year's start. Start walking, give yourself a step goal or a time goal for a day, and start just cooking more meals from home. And that doesn't mean you have to go from 5 meals out to 0 meals out. It could even just be, I'm going to go from 5 to 4, and then 4 to 3, and then 2 to 1, or 3 to 2. And then you just kind of ease your way down, and you don't have to get down to 0 either. Like you can eat from home, but like, I'm sure at this point, Casey, you probably, know how to navigate this stuff a little bit more. You're like, oh, I know, like if I have meals out, like I know how to do that. Right. And I'd love for you to kind of speak on that a little bit. Like, now sounds like you're in an awesome place. Right. And you said like feeling the best you've had. You're building muscle, you're working at a gym now, like you've completely shifted your career. What are some things that you do now to like maintain what you've gotten and to kind of find new goals that can help you get better?
I just recently, obviously, I just got back in Texas. Every time I go to Texas, yes, I do eat all the things that I used to eat. But I also go to the grocery store and I buy my groceries. I buy what I usually buy when I eat here in San Francisco. So I stock up on the protein, and that's chicken breast, ground meat, my greens. I love apples and bananas. I go to those like every 2 or 3 days in big bags. But I make sure I buy that. And my sister knows we're going to HEB, we're going to the grocery store. And before we get to her house, that's what we do. That's what I do. And she knows that. So I get the food that I need, that I know is helping me get to where I want to be. In the past 3 years that I've been going back to Texas, that's what I do. Now, for me, like, it's just come easier for me. Like last night, I did chest night. It was late. I didn't want to cook. So now I'm at a point where I'm just eating because I have to eat. I need protein. I need carbs. So last night, and I got this from Matt, cream of rice. Sorry. and that's my carbs. And I put in 2 scoops of whey protein. There's my protein. So that's, to me, that's all that I need. So I've gone from like eating hamburgers and pizza, which I still love, but to me now it's a treat, like once a month. I don't crave it anymore. So it's just like, what do I need? What do I need to eat? What do I need to consume to get to where I want to be? Because I'm not done yet. So yeah, I mean, I make sure that I have the essential protein. I have tubs of whey protein. Like I have like empty tubs that I need to take out the trash, what I haven't done yet. I have the creatine. I have, pre-workout. I have what I need to keep me going. Groceries, it's pretty easy. Meat, veggies, rice, fruit, everything is like, I can see it. It's not like in a box. So I've made that transition from like, oh, let's go buy the mac and cheese, which I don't care for anymore. And everything's whole, everything's fresh. I want to see it. Making those trips to Costco now are fun. Stocking up on the meat that I can buy. And I'm actually like, whenever I see lots of meat, I just get so excited. But yeah, that's what I do now. And people's like, are you missing out? I'm like, I'm not missing out. Actually, I did all of that for like so many years. I was missing out on this good stuff.
Yeah.
And that's how much I've changed. And I still can't believe I've changed that much. So yeah, I just make sure that I have what I need. And if it's, like over the holidays, being a Hispanic family, we eat a lot of things that are not really good. Tamales, that's a lot of lard, refried beans, tortillas, which is flour. I did eat those, but I also make sure to, enjoy myself, but not overdo it. So if there was a lot of carbs, I made sure to incorporate more protein. Now, I haven't weighed myself in 2 weeks because I was like, there's no point. I mean, I know I'm going to gain weight. So, and at this point, I don't really care. I do care, but I'm not keeping track of that. I'm trying to actually gain weight right now. So, but yeah, it's just, I've had this plan. I've stuck to it. I've not strayed from it. I should just make sure I get my fiber, my protein, my carbs, and yeah, like I said last night, just the cream of wheat and the protein scoop. So.
And one thing I keep hearing from you in your whole entire story is your ability to keep going is driven through your consistency. Like you're not just doing things sparingly here and there. You might have started out like that, but you're laying a foundation for yourself that you can repeat these things time and time again. And hopefully you guys heard the part 2 because he's dropping some nuggets here for you guys. He talked about when he travels. I think a lot of people freak out when they travel, right? Or all of a sudden I'm going to get out of my normal routine. I'm scared to travel. I'm hesitant to travel. I'm going to lose all my progress when I travel. These are things that I hear as a coach, right? So clients tend to freak out. And if you guys are in those shoes, one thing that he said that was really, really key and really important is he's taking the approach as if the only thing that's changing is his environment, which is key. I want you guys to hear that because one of the first things that he does when he goes to Texas or wherever he's traveling is he goes to the grocery store. He gets the same food that he's eating at home, right? It's not to say that he's not going to go to Whataburger. It's not to say that he's not going to enjoy tamales and have tortillas and refried beans and all these amazing things. He's not excluding those things. But what he is doing is he's putting it and he's setting himself up for success to keep his routine as much as possible and integrate some of these other things that he knows, likes, and loves. He's not living off of them like how he was before. And that's a huge difference. Alex and I know what you're talking about because we experience it. It's what we do. But those of you that are listening and you're living off the fast food right now, you're living off the alcohol, you're living off the shitty fuel that you're putting into your body. I promise you, and just like Casey said, you will notice when you have been missing out on the other side, when you operate and you perform better because you're literally changing the fuel source that your body's breaking down and metabolizing and using as energy. I promise you will feel different. And Casey can attest to that. He's already talked about it. He was missing out on that side, which a lot of you listening to this are as well. You're like, oh, I don't want to give up this. I don't want to give up that, but I know I need to lose weight. look, there's got to be some sacrifice here. And I promise you, as you start to transition the quality, like Alex said, you don't have to go from, eating every meal out to all of a sudden eating all your meals in and making them at the house. Just take one step. Maybe you're just changing a couple out, but I promise you, you will feel a difference in how you operate, the amount of energy that you have throughout the day. It is literally like night and day. And so I love that you brought that up, man. You're like, hey, I go and I try to keep my routine as best as possible. I'll hit up the grocery store. I'm going to get foods that I could see that aren't inside of a box, that single ingredient whole foods. We all talk about them. And man, when you can operate on a different fuel source, you talked about progression too. You're like, okay, I can start to see that things are working. You're going to want to do it more and more. It's always that initial hump of getting over like, I don't want to eat fruit. I'd rather eat a pizza, or, we all have those thoughts, right? I still have those thoughts, right? Those thoughts aren't going to go anywhere. You just get better at dealing with them, right? Like you're like, okay, I understand that if I eat this, I will feel a certain way. And if I eat this shit, I will also feel a certain way. And when you get to choosing your fuel from that perspective, you are now consuming fuel and food and energy based on what it's intended for, right? We're trying to metabolize that and use it as our energy to operate throughout our day, which in turn, you can even speak to this too. And I like to know about this with you, man. When you were with me, we were focused on stripping fat away.
Yeah.
Now you've transitioned, and I'd love to, we'll dive into this too after about, your transition with your job too, if you're comfortable with that. But now you've also been focused on building muscle. What is somebody who's just starting out? Like what does your normal routine look like right now for strength building? And what are some of the foods that you're focusing on to help with that, whether it's protein, whatever it is? Tell us a little bit about what that schedule kind of looks like.
Yeah. So I think with food, that was my biggest fear. And I'll talk about this first. It goes into what I want to say. And I know I reached out to you about, carbs. I'm afraid my biggest fear is that I'm going to get fat again, but I know I have to eat more. I have to consume more calories to gain muscle. And that was my biggest fear. But the foundation that I've laid where I'm going to gym 3-4 times a week, that's not going to happen. I've recently gotten over that fact that I'm not going to get the body fat. Yeah, I'm gaining fat right now because I've, bulking. But I know that I know what to do next. We'll go into like the cutting, and I can't believe I'm saying these words now, but, cause it's still all brand new to me still. But yeah, I've laid out this foundation of, I'm focusing on protein. I'm focusing on carbs. I'm not afraid of carbs. Carbs, we need carbs. Our muscles need carbs for that energy. And so I'm focusing more on, on white rice. I love potatoes, and I actually just love boiled potatoes. Put some salt in there, and that's it. That's all that I need. I love that taste. And if I want to, spice it up, I'll put in some ketchup on it or some mustard. That's just how I like stuff now. And I'm not tired of ground beef or ground turkey or ground chicken. I actually love it. I love how it tastes. I love that it's actually helping my body to get to where I need to be. So I focus, so much on protein and carbs now. I'm heavier on the carbs on my workout days. I think it's been working for me so far, but if not, I'm willing to change that. So going to gym. So my job right now is I work at a gym, but I work from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. So, the late night workouts don't work for me anymore because I like to get to bed early. So my workouts are now in the afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I get off of work. So I do that. I have my meals built around that. I take my meals to work. Occasionally I'll treat myself to a breakfast burrito, and burritos are everywhere in San Francisco. But I also make sure it's focused on a lot of protein, on the eggs, if it's just egg whites, that's fine. I love egg whites. So I pretty much have just built all of this onto, like I said, focusing on protein, on the carbs. I drink my coffee black now. I used to just have these lattes and filled with all this stuff in there that that's why I have,
just black. Yep.
Just black. And it's fine. There's also flavored coffees that I buy. My mom packed me some Texas pecan coffee. So, love my mom. So, it's the fact that I say this all the time. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And I always come back down to that. Um, and it's just been getting emotional about this, but it's been amazing. And I just wish that I had known this years ago. That's my biggest regret about all of this is doing this when I was in my 30s. But I'm here now. I can see the change that my body's going through right now. My chest is getting bigger. Um, you know, my legs, that's the issue. It's just because I hate legs. But the foundation is there, and I just carry that with me. And that's just part of my DNA now. It's just ingrained in my head, is the foundation that I have. Um, you know, yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
That's fucking awesome, dude. And you said a lot of awesome things there where, I mean, first off, so many people, they're like, oh, that's boring to eat healthy. It's, like I've heard it so many times. People are like, oh, like the way you eat is boring. I'm like, I love it. Like, it's good. Like, and even some of those alternative stuff. I like to get Halo Top ice cream, right? And people will tell me that stuff sucks. I'm like, I love it. I think it's good. And guess what? It's 300 calories to the 1,200 calories for a pint
The
of
whole
other ice
pint.
cream, right? Like,
Yes,
sure,
exactly.
it's not
Yeah.
going to be as good as the 120 grams of sugar that you have in your brownie batter Ben and Jerry's, but like it's good. If you eat that stuff, your body starts craving the good shit. Like it's the healthy stuff, the apples, the bananas, the ground beef, the ground turkey. You can season it different ways. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. And I love that you also said that you're no longer afraid of carbs. And I think that a lot of people struggle with that. Men, women, everybody, they're like, there's this big narrative and this huge myth in the health and fitness industry still that carbs are bad and that when you want to lose weight, you have to cut carbs and all this bullshit. And so I would love it if you'd kind of explain the steps that you've taken to get, because it sounds now you're in a place where you're like, I know I need carbs. Like I fuel myself with carbs. They help my workouts. They help my recovery, all this stuff.
Yeah.
What were the steps that you took to go from somebody who is maybe scared of carbs to somebody who's like, I eat a lot of carbs and I know that they help me a lot?
I was just like I said, my biggest concern was I was going to get fat again, and like I said earlier, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to get back to where I was before, like lose all this that I have right now. Again, I went to Matt. I'm like, Matt, what do I need to do? And he just said we need to increase this. And once I did that, and I started noticing little subtle changes in my body, like just like, okay, my body's reacting to this because of this. So I'm like, well, I'm going to incorporate this then because it works. So now I have white rice, I have brown rice, I have potatoes here, and Matt knows this. I hate sweet potatoes, but now I eat them. I do, and because they're good for me. And I've acquired the taste now because I used to eat them a lot as a kid, but they were loaded with sugar when I was a kid, and that was our treat. Growing up in South Texas was I despised it. And now I can actually alter the taste of the sweet potato by adding in salt and adding pepper. When again, salt's not a bad thing. Um, so I actually like it. I put them in my air fryer, and I use the hell out of my air fryer. Sometimes I add olive oil, and sometimes I'm not. The consistency doesn't bother me. I just eat it because I know it's good for me. So yeah, I incorporate carbs into every meal that I have. If I have eggs in the morning, which I love eggs, I'll eat some sourdough bread. If I have lunch, I will add a side of rice or white rice to it with whatever. If I'm having salmon or ground beef, whatever protein that I have. And for dinner, same thing, potatoes. I love boiled potatoes. And I'm sure there's more out there that I can probably investigate and try out. But for me, the simplicity works for me, and I haven't gotten tired of it. Just adding different, seasoning, whether it be, I think, Matt, I think you turned me on to one a few months ago. I forgot what it was called because I ran out of it already.
Was it the Kinder's one?
Yeah, there you go. Yes, that one.
Yep.
But also, I was missing some seasonings from Texas that my mom sent home with me, so that I can't find here in California. So that actually helps me a lot. And it kind of reminds me of like, growing up and having that food and having that similar taste. And it's all 0 calories. Um, so yeah, just adding like onions, cilantro. I love cilantro. Adding it to whatever I'm eating. So it's just incorporating all these things that I've known. And it's taking me this long um, to just find out what I like. And it's slowly coming together. And like I said, I just can't, now that I have this foundation, I know that I'm set up to get to the next level. And that's keep adding muscle. And then once I have to cut down, then going back to that lifestyle that I had before of like cutting down again. So my biggest problem that I have is just I'm impatient. um, but I've been doing this for 3 years now, so I'm gonna be okay.
It's awesome, dude. And sardines too. Sardines is another one of Casey's favorites. You still eating sardines?
I bought some last night.
Yeah. He eats those things like Skittles.
Yeah,
Great source of protein right there too.
My roommate's like, I hate that smell. I'm like,
Like deal with it, bro. Yeah, man. So you talked about a lot of good stuff right there. One of the things that you said is simplicity, right? You're like the simplicity of things, and that's what allows you to keep going. You don't have to do these elaborate, like super in-depth recipes that you have to do. I think that's a lot of people misconstrue that as well, is it has to be super in-depth or it's going to be extremely expensive because they're so used to going the fast, cheap route, and those just things are not true. And so I'd like you to also talk about, obviously you've been through some crazy stuff, right? You've gone through some very dark places mentally, physically, and you've overcome those things, which is incredible. You're now on the other side of that mountain and you'll continue to face battles, but the journey that you went through and the darkness that you went through and to be able to get over that huge hurdle, that mountaintop, I know there's people listening that are still in that spot. Right. And you mentioned, man, I wish I would have started sooner. Right. The only regret is that it took me until when I did. And when I did start, I wish I would have started that a little bit earlier. What would your advice be to people who are in that dark spot that you were once in? Maybe not the same exact scenario, but they're in something similar, knowing that they need to do something. Like, what would be your advice to those people?
my advice is just start somewhere, start moving somewhere, start walking, start whatever. That's what I did. And it sounds so simple, and people are like, "Oh, that's not going to change anything." It does change because it leads to more growth. Um, that's what I had to do. Like I had to pull myself out of that dark spot. Uh, I still have those dark spots, but I deal with them in a different way now. Like I go to the gym or I go for a walk. Um, and like I said, it sounds easy, but once you start that, life will get a little better. Um, like I said, it sounds a lot easier than what I'm saying, but it's helped me so much to get to this point. Um, and now it's consumed me to the fact that I've actually changed careers because of this. So um, you just have to start. You have to start somewhere. Like you said, start sloppy, and it's worked. It's worked for me, and it's always in my head. Start sloppy. You know, just go do it. If you're sloppy, that's fine. I'd rather you be sloppy than not just sit on your ass, sit on the couch, and just watch TV. And trust me, I had that moment last night. I didn't want to go work out last night. It was 10 o'clock. It was 10:30 at night. I wasn't feeling good. I was just off the plane from Texas. I was just not feeling well. It was raining. It was drizzling. I don't want to go outside, but I did. I spent an hour and a half at the gym. Um, and there were other people there too, doing the exact same thing that I was doing. I'm sure they didn't want to be there. But it's my therapy. It's like once I get there, like my mind just feels better. My mind is at peace. I can focus. And everybody's there for the same reason, just to, well, not for the same reason, to better themselves, to focus, to whatever reason they want to be there for. But just start moving, just start something. And it doesn't have to start moving. Maybe you can change your diet a little bit, incorporate, more protein, or incorporate more greens or fruit, or you having that craving for a soda. Well, get a Coke Zero. That helps me. I still love Coke. I still love Coke, but I drink Coke Zero now. And I've come to the point where I don't drink my calories anymore. I don't do that. Like I said, I don't drink alcohol anymore. I drink black coffee. I drink Coke Zero. I drink, you know, this is my water now. So,
Oh.
and so it's come to the point where I don't crave anything else. I don't. But you have to start somewhere. Those little small steps, and they have to be small steps. They can definitely change your outcome and whatever you want to accomplish, whether it's to lose weight or just feel better about yourself or clear your mind. Just start there. Just start something small.
I love
I think
it.
that's the issue is that people go in so fast and then they fall and it's like it's not working. And I see that a lot with my friends. I'm like, gotta start small.
Hell yeah. And dude, so grateful for you coming on. Like, it really sounds like you found, first off, like, the start, just a sustainable way. And you started creating a lifestyle slowly with just small habits of walking, then changing your diet, then cutting out things that you were drinking. And like, all of these small steps just led you to developing a lifestyle and being able to change everything about what you were doing in a way that was actually doable, as opposed to people going from 0 times working out to 5 times working out and 2,000 steps a day to 10,000 steps a day. And, all like every meal out to no meals out, like all that. It's kind of this huge extreme approach in the health and fitness industry. And both Matt and myself are completely against that. And we're really, really grateful for you coming on and sharing your story. You're going to inspire tons and tons of people with this podcast. And I know you're already inspiring tons of people just with your story and sharing everything on your Instagram. So I'd love for you to just kind of give everybody where they can find you, where they can follow you, connect with you, just all the things, wherever you want our viewers to go to keep watching your story and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm mostly on Instagram. And if you want to follow me, my tag is Casey, CASEY _ not NOT _ Casey, the letters Casey. So Casey, not Casey.
We'll put that on the screen here too, and we'll put it in the description as well. But yeah, man, absolutely. Thank you for coming on, man. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover? Is there anything else that we may have skipped over that you want to share, or maybe even just leave any parting words with people who are kind of on the fence and getting ready to start their new journey here, starting the beginning of the year, beginning of the new year?
I'm not big on resolutions. Just start today. Today's the 28th. It's 3 days until the new year. Like I said, I work at a gym, and I know like it's been so dead this week.
Just wait.
I know, and it's to be. But I'm glad. I'm like, maybe there's that one person that needs that inspiration or that motivation. And like, I share my story at work. Like, I see people come in, and I talk to some members. I'm like, you have slimmed down, and I'll show my pictures, my before and after pictures. So start today. You might not think that if you don't do it today, you have until tomorrow. Well, that's one day wasted. Just do it now. Start now. Whatever it is, walking, push-ups, food, just start now. That's my advice.
Hell yeah. I love it, dude. And again, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, this is an awesome episode to share with somebody. Share it with somebody who needs this, who's been trying to change their life, who has been talking about it but not taking action. Somebody who you think could benefit from Casey's story. Please share this. Like, subscribe if you're new so you don't miss our future episodes. Again, Casey, thank you so much for coming on, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you both, Matt. Thank you so much, Matt, for just putting with my stubbornness and all that. And Alex, thanks for giving me the platform. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for watching and listening. We hope you have an awesome rest of your day and week, and we'll be talking to you soon.